and Cheers and Star Trek. Yeah,
Right.
no, unfortunately, you're right. There's a level of it's tough. Now let's be straight about something here in this article, and I want to before we get into the depth and breadth of it, uh, you know, um, the reality is that The Sopranos, who was created by um, David Chase, you know, it's been 25 years since The Sopranos was on the air,
Right.
and he created a show that was really, really, a wave of popularity of the time. Like, that was during that time when HBO was becoming a powerhouse of these types of shows, ending with such shows as Barry, which I know that was mentioned in the chat here. Barry's a great show last season, one of those
Absolutely.
great thinking shows, plus fun. And I would make Barry part of this whole type of television that he's saying is going away. But the thing about David Chase is that he's always been a little bit of an angry guy, and he kind of goes through this article talking about how things have changed and TV's changed, and talking about some truth about the facts that studios have more control over projects. They're having more input. They're requiring you to do more things. And he no longer has like the carte blanche to do whatever he wants to do. And the reason this came up was because he was working on a current project, and he basically had a meeting with the studio, and he was doing a show about a young screenwriter, and how a high-end prostitute was forced into witness protection. Right. So the story is about a high-end prostitute forced into witness protection. They're on their third and their fifth meeting with the studio, and they told him, "Look, guys, that's just too complex. Like a prostitute and witness protection. Like, who's gonna watch that? That's too intelligent, basically."
I'd watch that.
So of course we
right
would, because we
now.
like intelligent television. But the problem is the studios are all about pandering right now. So they're trying to create shows, all except Apple, which we'll get back to, because I don't think that Apple TV applies to any of this. Apple TV is making the smartest television shows that anybody are making right now. And so I think that Dave needs to go over and make shows for Apple if he wants to make smart television. But essentially, he's right, because if you look at Disney and you look at, a lot of the studios creating shows, they're trying to pander to the widest audience available. Now, why is that? It's because there's so much streaming programs. There are more shows to watch than there have ever been in the history of television right now. They're all over the place. And what are they all doing? They're competing for eyeballs. So the studios recognize, Dave talks about in this article how, what are we doing? What are we just pandering to the shareholders? Yes, Dave, that's exactly what's happening. We're pandering to shareholders because if you didn't notice, all of these streaming companies, because they spend, 20, well, how much they spend on 225 million on She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, $225 million to make a season of She-Hulk.
And you got to ask yourself, where is that money? Because it wasn't in the graphics.
You know what? You can pay people to do bad work.
Apparently,
you can still pay people a shit ton of money to do bad work. Now, my point is that I see his frustration. He's trying to work with all these studios that are saying, look, so a prostitute that's in witness protection, who's going to want to watch that? Well, women aren't going to want to watch prostitute and witness protection. I mean, some guys are probably going to want to watch that. What about the younger audience? No, they're not going to be interested in that. So they're trying to figure out, based on a show, like who's going to be interested in it. You want to know who watches Sopranos? Everybody. You want to know who watched Better Call Saul? Everybody. Right? You want to know who watched Breaking Bad? Everybody. Why? Because they're amazing and great TV shows, but studios aren't willing to take a risk on shows that aren't pandering to wide audiences. And what's happening is it's causing us to create like a dumber model. And the people who are the most successful at streaming right now are creating the most vapid content of anybody out there, and they're making the most money. And who is it? Netflix.
Right.
Netflix is making a ton of money off these shows, Hot or Not, or Love is Blind, or Sex on the Island, or Fuck Your Buddy, or whatever it is that they're doing. There's tons of these shows, right, that they have. Now, they've got some interesting stuff too. They got an Adam Sandler movie coming out that looks interesting, if not weird, which we can talk about later. But Netflix is the only powerhouse in streaming right now, making money. and they're going to a what, cheaper format, less money, to create these shows, paying people less, creating more content, buying the content other streamers can't afford.
Right.
So that's what's happening. You've got this dumbing down of television occurring, but there are also intelligent, smart TV shows out there like Silo, like For All Mankind, which just ended, like there's several of those Apple shows that are just like really, really great. And so I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. Like when someone mentioned Barry, there is some good TV still out there coming out, but it is far and few between. Like considering the thousands of new shows that are being produced from all these studios, and we can only count on one hand how many shows have hit the zeitgeist and really did it in a smart way that was entertaining with smart characters, a smart story, and then ran their course. A lot of shows, and some of these shows were like, oh wow, that was a great show, but because it didn't get enough attention or enough marketing or whatever, it doesn't even get to run its course, which that happens a lot too. Because in the streaming age, they don't want, I mean, look, old TV, let's go legacy television before streaming. You had a show, and it was mostly ad supported, right? Or subscriber supported, but ad supported for the most part. What happened was commercials would run on a show that was popular. At the end of the season, they would look at their numbers, look at how much money they made off that show with viewers and commercials, and they'd be like, let's renew this thing for a second season. Or maybe it didn't make money, but they feel like now they find their swing, they have their sets, they've already put a lot of the initial money out. The second season is probably going to make money. Let's give it a second season, whatever, right? It'll find its audience.
Right.
And so then they renegotiate with the creators, the showrunners, the writers, the actors, etc., and they usually give them a little extra money for that second season. And then the second season does well, and they go, okay, now a third season, now you're making money. Now we're cooking with gas. And one more season will get us out of the hole we dug in season one, right? Let's say if it was only moderately successful. Boom. Then they give them a little more money. And you have this ensemble cast, and they're making, X amount of money per episode. And the third season is a success. And then in regular network TV, that's when we go, okay, now the fourth season, they're going to want a lot more money. What's the common thing, right? 7 seasons and a wedding. That's what every TV show wanted back then. Because if you get to 7 seasons, you're talking about big money. Syndication. This thing is being replayed. You are getting monthly checks for the rest of your life. That's what every actor wanted. Every writer, every person attached to something that had point of sale. So they go, let's go for a 4th season. You're making money. The show's doing great. We're wrapping our marketing around it. Everyone's watching this show, whatever it is. And they give them more money. And every season, they're negotiating a little more money. Or maybe the same amount of money, but they get to direct a couple episodes. Or they get a producer credit. Or whatever. They're getting more for their time because they're delivering a profit to the studio or to the network. That's not how it works anymore in streaming. Because it doesn't matter how many, unless you got in such an insane amount of viewership that they can easily equate your show into to new subscribers. Their subscriber base is the same. Ad rates don't matter. After the second season, that third season, that if that wasn't built into your contract, the odds of you getting it are pretty thin. They don't want to continually pay actors more and more money every season when they're making the same amount of money they made in season 1. Nothing is changing because it's subscriber based now. And they're not going to lose subscribers by canceling your show, and they're not gaining any more subscribers by keeping your show.
Right. It used to be that's how you kept eyeballs on your station, was you kept these great shows. But the reality is that when a show goes off the air on Netflix or Hulu or one of these other shows, people just go, okay, well, what's next? And then they look for the next thing on there. And as long as a streaming service has another good show that they haven't seen, they'll continue watching it. And so, and the networks and the streaming services know this, so they can kind of condense these. That's why you're never going to see these long seasons anymore. like Brian was saying. They're going to continuously be pushing this new content out. The question is it any good?